Today we're going to be replacing the rear coil springs on this Mercedes CLA. It's a 2015 model, and to start with I've jacked up the car by means of ramps. So I've backed the car onto some ramps so we can have a look and see how we should go about doing this. I'm going to be removing this side first. We've actually got a snapped coil spring which we'll get to a bit later in the video, but I'm just working out how to do this for the best. I won't say you need ramps, but I've just done it so I could get underneath and appraise it. So we've now removed the wheel and we've done away with the ramps, and we've got the car jacked up in a nice and central position. There's still quite a bit of tension on these springs. Obviously this is the good side, we've yet to see the broken one. So I'll just show you where I jacked the car up. So we've got it jacked up centrally at the rear. So we're just towards the front of the exhaust. I've carefully done it using a jack with one hockey puck. You can see here there's a bit of ironmongery there, smack in the middle, which is an excellent place to jack it up and let all the suspension hang. So I've placed the car on axle stands. There is a rubber mount there. Let's see if I can show you what I've done. It's still on the central jack, so it's not quite taking the weight yet. And we've now got another jack, and the object of this one is so we can raise and lower the arm, take the weight off. So we don't have a workshop set up, so I've removed the wheel purely just to make life easy. So you can see that's under the rear arm of the suspension, and then the coil spring is nestling above, ripe for removal. So we'll put a bit of lubrication on the nuts and bolts to remove, just at the base of this dampener, and see what gives. So with this jack taking the strain, this smaller jack here, we've got a couple of 16mm spanners, and we'll proceed to undo this bolt. So I've just got the jack taking a tiny bit, doing a tiny bit of work, and we'll just proceed to knock this bolt through. I've left the nut on. Can't find my hammer, but this will do. Now we'll undo the nut and tap it through. Hopefully we should just be able to pull it out the other side. Okay, the next bolt to remove is this one. You'll find it is an E20 star socket, or you may be able to wing it with a 14mm spanner. That's quite a good fit there, or socket. As long as it's 12 point, it should work. And the other side is 18mm, just slightly off camera. So we'll proceed to remove this. What I'm now doing is I'm just going to give it a few turns, because we've got to remove this nut, and it seems to be unscrewing. It may just be luck, I may have to knock it through. But the main thing is it's moving. It keeps teasing me with a bit more thread. So that's working quite well, it's unscrewing nicely. I've just got move the jack nearer to take the strain as things release. So we're getting real close now. We've just heard something go twang, so we'll see what happens. I'm quite happy winding it out as it preserves this thread. I don't want to tap it out and damage it. Yeah, I've got a feeling something's going to move anytime soon. Oh, yeah. Well, that thread was much longer than I expected. Basically, this has gone up and that wanted to hit the floor, so I'm glad I had the jack underneath. So we'll now see if we can liberate the coil spring. So that's lowered totally fully, and there's a bit of resistance here. I don't know where that's coming from. I think if we just remove the jack, push it down, and we should. Yeah, we have a coil spring. So we'll compare that to the ones I purchased, and hopefully compatibility will be good. Well, it's looking to be the same deal, so I'm quite pleased with that. Have you ever had one of these salter puzzles, you know, where you get two springs inside each other? Well, once I solve this, we can then proceed with the repair. Well, I think I'm winning. I want to apply a little bit of twisting force, and there we go, that's equally compatible. So we'll get this spring swapped out, and then I'll show you the horror story on the other side. I'll just push down with my hands, and I've got to rotate. I just want to check the springs in a happy position either end, top and bottom. I'll just show you the bottom first. There's a little gap there. I'm just going to turn the spring to close that up, so it's in the same position as its friend which we removed is. And I'm not seeing anything similar on the top, so just focus on the bottom, and the top should look after itself. Now for the tricky bit, we have to use the jack to jack that up, to compress the spring, get a bolt through there, reconnect the dampener, and get a bolt through here also, which we'll see how it goes. So I've got everything loosely in line. The dampener has moved slightly, and I've coated the bolt with some thread lock because I like doing that. I enjoy not having bolts that are seized, and we'll just see if we can wiggle the bolt in here. That's not going, so we need to adjust something. Maybe jack up a little more. Yeah, beautiful. There is quite a bit of force incidentally, so do be really careful when jacking this up. There's a lot of energy in springs. You do need to be extra careful when working with springs. You know, when you're compressing them, they can decompress unexpectedly. I don't want anybody having any accidents, so do work safely. I'll get a pair of 16mm spanners and nip that up. So now we've got the dampener in, we can lower the jack and reposition it, because I want to move it nearer this end. We'll hopefully be able to do this. It's never easy. You can see the angle of the jack. As the jack goes up, it's pushing it in the air, so you have to be wary of that. I may have to reposition the jack. I think I will actually. So I've repositioned the jack so that pulling effect makes no difference, and we're just not quite aligned, because as we're jacking upwards, the spring and dampener are going whichever way they want. So one thing you can do if you're struggling, it's quite difficult to move this. This don't really want to move left or right, but this will move excellently. So you can just move the jack ever so gently, and hopefully you'll be more aligned, and keep doing that, and hopefully I should be getting nearer realignment. My jack's just topped out, but I can put a bit of pressure on to move everything downwards. Put a screwdriver in. Preferably an old one, because there is a bending risk. Well, refitting that was quite tricky. There's very little jiggle room in it, and the bolt's not tapered. So what I did is I got a large hefty screwdriver the other side, and that enabled me to wiggle the bush into submission and then gingerly insert the bolt. But it was I've struggled before to do these things. I suppose this was no different, but we're now finished, so we'll forget about it. So we're all finished up on the other side. We've got the wheel on, everything's great now. The horror show of the broken coil spring. So we'll see if we can remove this without taking a single part off. I think we're getting very close. A single-handed removal on camera. So we're going to give this side the same treatment. And you can see it's clearly a game of two halves. Many thanks for watching. Why not subscribe to learn of more repair possibilities?